Former Cleveland Browns tight end Daquan Wright cleared waivers yesterday, officially paving the way for his return to college football, as the former Ole Miss player intends to play at LSU this upcoming season. If Wright had been claimed on waivers, he would have been unable to play college football, as the claiming team would hold his rights. But in other news yesterday, the Big Ten announced that it passed a rule banning NFL players from returning to college, and later the SEC followed suit, passing a unanimous vote to stop NFL, NBA, and WNBA players from returning to school. The SEC has said it will enforce the rule with penalties, muddying Daquan Wright's situation. The SEC announced its institutions are not permitted to have an athlete on its roster who has, 1, previously declared for the NFL, NBA, or WNBA draft and did not withdraw, 2, signed a contract with an NFL, NBA, G League, or WNBA team, and 3, been listed on an NFL, NBA, G League, or NBA roster. All right, you guys got all that? Okay. Paul, what is your reaction to all of this?
Well, I think the Big Ten and the SEC have acted correctly. You just cannot let all this happen without saying something, especially when they believe, Kimberly, that they have the right to mete out penalties. What I mean by that is they can't interfere with all these crazy Louisiana judges, and there are also judges elsewhere who have made rulings like this. But they can be in charge of their own league, and they're essentially saying, you can have this guy on your roster, but we will penalize you. They didn't exactly say what, but the sense is the penalty will be severe, including suspension or perhaps forfeiture. So then it would be up to the individual. Now, what's really interesting here is yesterday in Birmingham, the 16 schools of the SEC met, and get this, they voted unanimously. That includes the LSU president. Now, nobody believes the LSU president was really in favor of it. He's obviously put up with Lane Kiffin because he's part of the group that brought Lane Kiffin in, and he has enabled and embraced everything that Lane Kiffin did. I think the president down there, Wade Roos, went along with it just to get out of that room in one piece. But what happens in Baton Rouge today will be where this story turns.
Well, the first question I have, what does that mean for the 2 players who joined Kiffin already? The ruling came after he took the 2 players back. Does that mean they can't play, the tight end from the Browns? Or is this rule after they're already on a team? Paul, answer me that. I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, I'll try to. Kiffin is arguing today that the SEC should make this ruling from this moment on and allow everybody else who is already into the system remain. I don't think they will do that. I'm pretty sure they won't, but that's going to be the argument. And to put it mildly, what time is it? 9 o'clock in the morning in Baton Rouge. The courts are open, and I promise you guys, and Kimberly, there are lawyers waiting on the doorsteps to file injunctions.
The other thing I would say about LSU, and I'll just do this, and then Louis can fight me off. Can LSU for once in their life just lay low? I mean, let's go get Will Wade. Let's go out there and we'll figure out a way to get Kiffin out of Old Miss. Let's go spend $1 billion on this. Let's pay Brian Kelly off. Let's give the kid number 5 when he comes here from high school. Can LSU for once in their life just say, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't be the first guinea pig to take a kid from the Browns on our team. Let somebody else do it for a change. How about the punters?
Go ahead. I want to hear this.
How about the punters from the Australian rules football who go punt in college and they're 28 years old? How about the Florida State quarterback who won the Heisman that one year?
Chris Weinke.
Yeah, Weinke, who played in AAA baseball and was 27 years of age when he freaking won the Heisman against 18, 19 year old kids. That's not right either.
That's going to be done away with age-based eligibility.
So you agree with me? You don't like that either?
I do not like that.
All right, let me get Paul back in here. Paul?
Doug, you said something really interesting, and I don't want to be a history professor here, but you have to understand the state of Louisiana. You have to go back to the 30s, Doggy, and I know you're a historical freak. There was a governor named Huey Long who pretty much made this LSU football team his own. He was one of the most charismatic people in the entire country. He considered running for president until somebody assassinated him on the steps of the Capitol. Robert Penn Warren wrote a book entitled All the King's Men. It became a movie, famous movie with Broderick Crawford. You probably remember him from Highway Patrol. This is a 50s show, by the way, Louis and Kimberley. The point being that he won a Pulitzer Prize for it, too. This is the state. I covered LSU. My first job was in Louisiana, and it is unlike any place else in this country. And that is why Lane Kiffin is such a perfect person for this job. The governor there has shattered norms, just like other politicians have around the country. And every time Lane Kiffin spits in the face of the SEC commissioner or some norm, he becomes even more popular. Now, Louis, you are also correct. It ratchets up the pressure, and he has to win. That is why he was hired. They fired a coach named Brian Kelly, who played for a national championship at Notre Dame. They paid him more than $50 million to go away. Then the governor did this. He got rid of the athletic director after he got rid of Kelly. And what did he do? He brought in his own president from down the street at McNeese State. That guy then brought his athletic director to essentially run the operation. And then they hired Will Wade. Doggy, you remember Will Wade, don't you? They fired him at LSU 5 years ago for shattering NCAA rules. He just took a player off St. John's roster who probably played halfway around the world already. He may not have a team right now because he had about 12 or 13 players from Europe. So that is the culture of LSU, and you can't talk about this story without understanding how bizarre but how wonderful that culture is if you go to a football game on a Saturday night in Tiger Stadium.
There you go.
Okay, so we referenced Lane Kiffin and him defending his decision. Well, he was on Pat McAfee yesterday, so let's hear what he had to say.
I don't think professionals should come back to college sports and college football particularly. But in this instance, this is not professionals that have gone played seasons or just, randomly file an injunction in a state to become eligible. Sometimes the difference between the hero and the villain isn't very far apart. When you're trying to do things at the highest level, a lot of times people want you to apologize for what you're doing when you're chasing greatness. And that's what we do here as a program. That's how we run it. And our players know that. And I think our fans, and so they understand that you're doing the best for their program at the time so that they can win and they can have everything that they want.
The difference between the hero and the villain, especially when you're talking about intercollegiate athletics, especially when you're talking about Power 4 intercollegiate athletics, especially when you're talking about SEC Power 4 intercollegiate athletics when it comes to football, he is exactly right. Because if you've been to one of these stadiums on a Saturday, and I have been to many, and you have mingled with the fans, whether it be pregame, in an elevator, going up to a press box, going up to a TV booth, where the people who are trying to go to their suites and watch the game are riding in the elevator with you, and you entertain some of the conversations that these people initiate with you and how passionate they are and how they are about winning at all costs, this means nothing to them. All they care about is when that ball is kicked off on Saturdays, is our football team in a position to win? Are we able to wear our colors with pride? And look, I understand what Lane is saying. Like when he talks about, is Daquan Wright really a professional? I mean, he's a guy who hasn't really, laced them up for a professional football team in a regular season game. He's a guy who never made a roster. He's a guy who still, based upon the age eligibility argument, is still eligible to play college football. He's a part of this, specific group of guys who are from the 2022 incoming class that he still should be allowed to play. He's saying, look, this isn't me just kind of going ahead and picking a 28-year-old guy and saying, hey, look, I'm arguing to bring this guy back because I just want him. He's not a professional in that way. And I understand, look, we need to try and draw this distinction between what is an amateur and what is a professional. I just don't know if we can draw that distinction anymore. I don't think we can.
So, Paul, you heard Lou, the traditionalist, who understands that LSU will try to win by any means necessary. Put a bow on this. What do you think?
Listen, I'm with Doggy in theory, but I'm also a realist about today. It is 2026, and Lewis said it earlier that if you walk through these college campuses in the parking lot, it's like being at an NFL training camp. The cars are the same because they're making so much money, and all fans care about. I'm an expert on fans. I'll leave the football to Lewis. I talk to them every day, Kimberly. and they don't care about any of this stuff. They don't care if Congress passes a bill. They don't care if the NCAA goes away into the ocean. They want their football team, whether it's LSU or Alabama or Georgia or Notre Dame, to win on Saturday. And if they don't, they're going to want to fire the coach. And Lane Kiffin knows that very well. He got fired on the tarmac at Southern Cal because he didn't win enough games. The problem with the story is that Lane Kiffin sold us a bill of goods at Ole Miss. He said he's never been happier. He owed Ole Miss everything. He lied his way through that episode, and he walked out in the middle of the season. And some people can't get over that fact. But this is a different story. There's not an LSU fan watching this show right now who cares about anything other than that first game and then the game on September 19th at Ole Miss. And Lane Kiffin knows that better. I mean, he is incredibly smart, and he is going to shatter everything. And the difference between Lane Kiffin and a lot of coaches is he has the army behind him. He has the president in his back pocket. I mean, I don't even know if there's an athletic director at LSU because there's no evidence of that. And the most important person, I said it earlier, he's got the governor. That's the most important guy in the state, Jeff Landry. He's popular. He's powerful. He's also the ambassador to Greenland. He's friends with the president. He can get Lane Kiffin anything he wants. Right now, Louis, you've heard this. They've got over a $50 million roster, and it's going up by the day.